People who went through a lot when they were young don't just grow up with memories of what happened. They also grow up with invisible settings inside them, automatic reactions, expectations, and habits that were shaped early on and never really shut off. Most adults don't realize this because these patterns don't come with warning labels. They don't announce themselves as childhood trauma. Instead, they quietly show up in everyday moments. They appear when a plan gets canceled and you feel strangely rejected, when you can't fully relax even when you finally have time to rest, when someone compliments you and instead of feeling good, you immediately wonder what they want from you. When a child is exposed to repeated hardship, being neglected, emotionally hurt, living in constant chaos, or never having a safe adult to rely on, their brain adapts to survive. Scientists refer to this as toxic stress. Normal stress, in manageable doses, actually helps children grow and learn. But toxic stress is different. It's prolonged, intense, and happens without comfort or protection. It's like living with an emergency alarm that never shuts off. The body is flooded with stress hormones for long periods of time, and there's no one there to help regulate it. Research from institutions like Harvard has shown that this kind of stress doesn't just affect emotions. It actually changes how a child's brain develops during critical growth stages. Areas responsible for emotional regulation, impulse control, and decision-making can develop differently. This isn't a character flaw. It's biology. But the heartbreaking part is that the child has no idea this is happening. They don't know their nervous system is being reshaped. All they know is that the world feels unsafe, unpredictable, and overwhelming. And these adaptations are not failures. They're incredibly intelligent survival strategies. A child with no control and no escape finds ways to make life more tolerable. Some children become hyper-aware, constantly scanning their surroundings for danger, reading every facial expression and tone of voice. Others become peacekeepers, learning how to calm adults, defuse tension, and keep everyone emotionally stable. Some children learn the opposite lesson and shrink themselves down, becoming invisible, quiet, and unnoticed as a way to stay safe. Many children discover that pleasing others reduces risk. They learn to anticipate needs, moods, and expectations, often at the expense of their own. Their own feelings fade into the background. For a child who cannot leave, cannot fight back, and cannot change their environment, these strategies work. They reduce harm. They help the child survive. The problem is that what keeps you alive as a child can become a source of pain as an adult. The constant vigilance turns into chronic anxiety, where your body never fully relaxes because it still believes danger is just around the corner. The peacekeeping turns into people-pleasing, an overwhelming responsibility for other people's emotions while ignoring your own. The disappearing act becomes emotional numbness, a disconnection from your wants, needs, and sense of identity. This isn't about blaming parents or labeling people as damaged. It's about recognizing patterns that explain struggles that otherwise feel confusing, random, or deeply personal. One of the most damaging legacies of a difficult childhood is shame. Shame often becomes the core wound. Children are not cognitively developed enough to understand context or responsibility the way adults do. They naturally assume that everything happening around them is somehow about them. So when bad things happen again and again, the child doesn't think, "This situation is wrong." They think, "There must be something wrong with me." Over time, this belief hardens. The child concludes that if they were better, quieter, smarter, more lovable, then things wouldn't be so bad. This isn't guilt, which says, "I made a mistake." Guilt can actually be helpful because it points to changeable behavior. Shame is different. Shame says, "I am the mistake." And that belief attacks the core of who you are. Decades of research into adverse childhood experiences, often called ACEs, has shown how powerful these early environments can be. One major study involving over 17,000 participants revealed clear links between childhood adversity and adult struggles. People who experienced more trauma as children were significantly more likely to face challenges later in life, including depression, anxiety, addiction, chronic illness, relationship difficulties, and financial instability, even 30 or 40 years later. But this research doesn't mean your life is predetermined. It doesn't mean childhood pain permanently seals your fate. What it does is explain why certain patterns exist. And that explanation matters, because the brain is capable of change throughout life. New neural pathways can form. Healing is possible, but it often requires effort, awareness, and professional support. What makes all of this tricky is that it usually doesn't show up in dramatic ways. It shows up quietly, on ordinary days. It's the tension you feel when someone sends a vague message like, "We need to talk." It's how a small mistake at work suddenly feels like proof that everything is about to fall apart. It's the strange discomfort you feel during calm moments, as if peace itself can't be trusted. Rest might feel uneasy instead of refreshing. Compliments slide right off, while criticism lingers for days. You replay conversations in your head, analyzing every word, searching for what you did wrong, even when no one else seems upset. To outsiders, and sometimes to you, these reactions can feel irrational, but they make perfect sense when you remember that your nervous system learned early that small signs could lead to big consequences. Adult life rarely provides clear danger signals, so the body fills in the blanks. It reacts to silence, uncertainty, changes in tone, or mild conflict as if they are threats, because at one point in your life, they were. Realizing this can feel unsettling, but it can also be relieving. It means you're not broken. Your system learned something that once kept you safe, and it just hasn't updated yet. Many adults who experience difficult childhoods unconsciously recreate familiar emotional environments. They may find themselves drawn to unstable or unpredictable relationships, not because they enjoy the pain, but because chaos feels familiar. The body often prefers what it knows, even when it hurts, because familiarity feels safer than the unknown. Others respond by becoming overly controlling, trying to eliminate all unpredictability because uncertainty still feels dangerous. Then there are emotional flashbacks. These are especially confusing because they don't come with images or clear memories. Instead, you're suddenly flooded with feelings: fear, shame, helplessness, dread, without knowing why. You feel small and overwhelmed, as if something terrible is happening, even when your current situation is objectively safe. Because there's no clear cause, you start searching your present life for explanations, sometimes creating problems in your mind just to make sense of the emotional intensity. Healing from all of this is not quick or linear. It involves learning to recognize old survival strategies and understanding where they came from. It means honoring how those strategies once helped you while slowly choosing different responses. That choice has to be made repeatedly, often while every instinct in your body urges you to fall back on what's familiar. Healing means learning that safety can be real, that some people are consistent and reliable, that your needs matter, and that care doesn't have to be earned. It's not a reward for being perfect. It's something you deserve simply because you exist. The child who endured all of that didn't fail. They adapted with remarkable strength using the limited tools they had. They survived situations no child should ever have to face. But that child shouldn't have to keep doing the job forever. They deserve rest. They deserve to let the adult they've become take responsibility for protection, boundaries, and choices. Doing this work is hard. It can be painful, but it is also some of the most meaningful work a person can do. Because it's not about fixing something that's broken. It's about updating a system that learned its rules in a very different world. If this resonated with you, consider subscribing. And if you'd like to support these deeper explorations, joining the channel would truly mean a lot.